Okay, I am so excited that you have joined us. We're going to be talking about Gender Without Rival discussion number 2. I want to introduce who I have as part of the conversation. I have Casey Sachs, I have Hannah Cusack, Juliana Bevere, my daughter-in-law, and me. I'm Lisa Bevere, in case you are new to this conversation. And we're going to be talking about a topic we visited a little bit about gender without rival. And a lot of times people immediately think I'm talking about transgender. I'm not talking about transgender. I'm not talking about picking a gender. I'm not talking about one gender being better than another gender. I'm actually talking about dismantling gender rivalries so that we can begin to work together. So let's not be touchy, let's not be sensitive, but let's be logical and let's be practical about some of these things. You know, a couple years ago, I read a church planting manual, and it's one of the top church planting organizations in all of the United States of America. And they were talking about leaders and elders and deacons and teachers and different roles in the church. And this was what one of, well, their significant voice said when he was interpreting 1 Timothy chapter 2. He said this way, he said, Paul is simply stating that when it comes to leading the church, women are unfit because they are more gullible and easier to deceive than men. So, unfit, gullible, and easily deceived, more so than men. First of all, I just want to ask you, how does that make you feel? Does that, Hannah, does that make you feel relieved of duty, empowered? How does that make you feel when you hear unfit, gullible, and easily deceived? Disqualified.
Yeah.
You don't hear even a role thing, do you?
No.
You okay? How about you, Julie? What do you hear when you hear unfit, easily deceived, and gullible?
Just less than, like someone who needs to almost be monitored.
Yeah. Casey, how about you?
I feel challenged, kind of like what I want to combat that and defy it almost.
Yeah, and I have to be honest with you, I have been all those things. I have been unfit, I have been gullible, I have been deceived, but here's the promise of God for our life. In 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 4 through 6, it says, such is the confidence that we have through Christ, not through some church organization, not because of what somebody else says, through Christ toward God. Not that we are sufficient in ourselves to claim anything as coming from us, but our sufficiency is from God, who has made us sufficient to be ministers of a new covenant, not of the letter. Unfit, easily deceiving. These are letter words. These are law words. But of the Spirit. For the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life. And then it's interesting. He goes on to say, while many irate women have disagreed with Paul's assessment through the years, it does appear that such women who fail to trust his instructions and follow his teaching are much like their mother Eve and are well-intended but ill-informed. You know, do I have to be irate to disagree? Because I disagree with my husband all the time and I'm not irate. My husband disagrees with me all the time and we're not irate. But when he begins to bully and say, if you don't agree with my interpretation, then you're irate. And then he just says, they're like their mother's Eve. I'm just going to tell each and every woman out there, you are not a descendant of Eve. You are a daughter of promise. If you're a daughter of anybody, you're a daughter of faith, which is a daughter of Sarah. But the truth is that you are a daughter of the Most High God. Because in Christ, you become an heir and a joint heir with the men, so that you can be a carrier of the promise. And so let's talk about this, because this is going to always be a conversation. If I post anything about gender alone doesn't make a leader, people will make comments. If my husband posts something, I post. Because I actually posted a couple days ago about that when God looks for leaders, he isn't looking for our gender, he's looking for our surrender. He's looking for people that have virtue and stuff. So let's talk about this. You know, Casey, what have you seen? Hannah, Julie, what have you seen? Because I mean, we've all been around the block and we've experienced it in one level or another. How have you experienced like feeling that limits of gender? And how does that make you feel about your daughters?
Yeah, definitely. Thinking about our daughters and their future, and fortunately having, role models ahead of them who have paid high prices to pave the way for them to have that freedom. And honestly, for me, I I just think about the partnership that I share with my husband, and really the beauty that's in it, and how it's not available to so many people, because they are told you're less than. They're told that you're not fit, and it's these same people will say mothering and taking care of the next generation is the most incredible gift.
And we do all think that that's true.
Yes.
That's
But
not
out of
where it
the
is.
same mouth comes these limitations.
Yeah.
And to be saying these
I wouldn't turn the most precious
contradicting
thing to me
things.
over to somebody that was unfit, gullible, and easily deceived. I would not say, please take care of my children. They're the most precious thing I have.
My legacy is in your hands.
Take it.
Yeah, it just the limitations it would place on that partnership, because how could you enter in and truly trust someone if you feel like you have to constantly be making sure that they're not falling into all of the traps that Eve fell into?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, go ahead. No,
I was gonna say, for me, it's just to piggyback off that. So I was saved when I was 21. I mentioned to you girls before, and I experienced a lot of pushback from fellow sisters.
yeah, okay, and that is something we do need to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was, just it's when you know who you are in Christ, you don't have to try to lead or to preach or to teach or whatever.
We're all supposed to just be following Jesus
That's right. Just
and leading
follow
people to
Jesus.
Him.
Yep. And they would just say, you might want to tone it down and offer me these scriptures. And that's why I'm so grateful for this book. She unpacks these scriptures in chapter 6, A Gender Without Rival, offers context to them because I was just confused. It's like,
For sure.
I was like, Lord, yes, I will submit to you if this is what you have for me. Of course, like I want to please you, and if I need to tone it down, I will. But it just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And the truth is there isn't one stamp of what it looks like to be a woman. And talking about this competition thing, one of my sons overheard something that somebody had said in the context of other female ministers who I love and respect, and he said, Mom, why does it seem like a lot of the female ministers are competitive with one another? And it got me thinking, and you know what I think it is? When you don't empower people in the valid ways, and they have to fight for 10 places.
That's right.
Then they have to compete because
is.
the ground is so small.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say, if you're out there and you have something that's a dream in your heart, you don't have to fight for your place.
Yeah.
But you do just need to obey God. And if somebody's putting a limit on you, or somebody's trying to compete with you, or somebody's saying you can't do something that God has put in your heart, we're just here to tell you, please do it. We actually really need you to do it. We need you to be everything that God created you to be. And there is ways to address these issues. We are all love men. I am not a minister because I don't love men. And I have to be honest with you, some of the female ministers, I hear them say certain things that seem like they're put downs of men, and this is not the spirit we want to speak from.
Not at all.
Because we believe men and women are better together. And we believe there are things that only a woman can do and things that only a man can do. So this isn't about, we don't believe in women being lead pastors. We believe in women being led by the Spirit.
That's right.
And men being led by the Spirit.
Yeah.
And then whatever the Spirit tells them to do, that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Hannah, how about you?
And
What
I'll
have you
say a
seen?
final thing back to that initial word that I submitted, disqualified, is realizing that we don't look to other people to qualify us. It's what are we looking at and what are we immersing ourselves in that's really going to build us up to a place where we have that understanding that if God's placed something inside of you that you have to go after with tenacity and boldness and courage, all of those things. Those aren't buzzwords. Those are the things you're going to live out day in, day out, and it's not going to be fun. You've raised us up in the knowledge of, and I love this excerpt. It says, the best way to protect someone from making future mistakes is open instruction, not prohibition. And the fact that Eve made a grave mistake in her past should not silence her daughter's voice in the future. And really that just being the clarion call of we're not, and even not even just Eve's mistakes, but we've all made mistakes. We're not going to live out of that. That's not what qualifies us or disqualifies us for what we have to walk into in the future. What qualifies us is that God's placed something within each one of us that is without rival, and we have to live out of that place with the knowledge of who we are in Him, and nothing can contend with that.
And I'm just going to say this as a grandmother, I want something different for my granddaughters. I mean, it's great that women are coming into something, but we want something different. And, you know, so I actually really stepped out in this book and wrote actually 10,000 words on the gender issue. And so that's there. There's scriptures. I know we're having a conversation. You might be like, what about this scripture? What about that scripture? We took the time and we unpacked it. And we actually pulled from a lot of people that are way smarter than us to be able to talk about some stuff. So we want to facilitate conversation for you. We want to see you get around the table, around like this kind of dynamics. Share your hurts and let the healing begin.
If you gather even with 4, you're going to learn so much more than if I just sat here and read this alone.
Exactly. And you can do that. We put together something called a study pack. It includes 5 books. You've got discussion questions in there if you want to help facilitate the discussion, plus the DVDs. There's 6 lessons. Great tool for you to just do what we did here. Gather women and dive into the world.
That's good.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us. We're going to continue to do these kind of things because we want you to know you're not alone, and we love getting to connect with you. God bless.